to take over Indian territory in the south and turn them to the production of cotton. The most famous incident about this war of 1812 was the capturing of the capital, and also the siege of Baltimore and the Star Spangled Banner. And that at that time was written, the American national anthem. But British captured Washington, D.C., burned the Capitol, burned the White House, Capitol building, and the White House. Giving you an indication that you know how much of a disaster this war was for the United States. I'm looking now at chapter 21, which is called the Hartford Convention. The northern states were extremely unhappy because they felt that they were pushed into a war by southern interests. And so Hartford Convention was a series of meetings from December 15 to 1814 to January 5th to 1815 in Hartford, Connecticut, in which New England Federalist Party met to discuss their grievances concerning the ongoing War of 1812. This convention discussed removing the 3/5 compromise, that is, taking away the votes of the South that the white Southern plantation owners were getting on the basis of the number of slaves that they had, and giving a disproportionate power to the Southern states in Congress. They were also very, very opposed to the idea that these Indian territories that were captured in the War of 1812 in the South would be turned into new states like Mississippi and Alabama and Florida. And they would become slave states, and they would get into the American Congress, and they would actually just outvote the Northerners. So you see the seeds of the Civil War here. And for the rest of the semester, we'll be talking about the Civil War, preparations from Civil War, right? Civil War is going to happen in 60 years in the future, in 1861. But the origins of the problem are there. The issues that happened, that came to the fore in 1861, they were already there in 1812. So Hartford Convention was an attempt of the Federalists in the North to leave the Union. There was a surprise, actually, end of the War of 1812. Actually, the peace treaty was already signed in Great Britain to end the hostilities. Napoleon was defeated in 1815, and it was over, and the United States signed a fairly bad peace treaty with Great Britain. But to a great surprise, I'm looking at slide 22. Southern General Andrew Jackson, famous throughout his life for getting rid of the Indians in the South, and for getting rid of the Indians in places like Florida and Mississippi and Alabama. He came down with his volunteers and his troops down to New Orleans and captured the city. The British tried to take it back, and to take over the city, not back, to take over the city. But Jackson defeated them and became sort of a national hero for it. It's I don't know, for me personally, the Battle of New Orleans is a bit of a mythological battle. It's part of the Andrew Jackson propaganda of trying to make himself into a great warrior. It In fact, it was a relatively irrelevant battle. The peace treaty was already signed with Great Britain. It's just that the British troops down in New Orleans and Andrew Jackson were not aware that the hostilities had actually ended. So it's a bit of a theater acting on part of Andrew Jackson. Now, that's my personal opinion. There are people who think differently, that it was a great heroic advantage, and it was used as such. Andrew Jackson and the Democrats then accused the Federalists of being treasonous, and Americans won the war, and yet these Federalists were kind of trying to leave the Union, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of political bickering going on there back and forth, but the fact is that Andrew Jackson became now the leader of the Democratic Party. And we have the last slide here, slide 23. We have this Democratic Revolution that was started by Jefferson, continued under Madison, and that is going to continue again under Andrew Jackson in 1829 to 1837. Jackson is then officially considered, there is a bit of a dispute, but a lot of people think modern Democratic Party starts with Andrew Jackson. Some people, including myself, I would think actually the modern Democratic Party starts with Thomas Jefferson. But potato, no big deal. We were talking about the same people. So this democratic revolution, sort of like a perpetual revolution, this is an attempt to always try to democratize American society more and more and more and more, that started under Jefferson, continued under Jackson, who was president from 1829 to 1837, and then so on and so forth. And ultimately, this will end in 1861 with the election of Abraham Lincoln and the beginning of the Civil War. And that's sort of a bit of a preview of the future, but just wanted to give you this summary, and we'll be coming back to these issues again and again during the rest of the semester. So this is it, as I say. This is our slide number 23, the end of the slide. I will now upload these online, and you'll have them available pretty soon. PowerPoint will be there, and I hope that the virus goes away and that we can actually meet each other in class, because that's much better. But this would do for now. I wish you all well, and hope to see you eventually. Bye.